I think so. Let's open the Zoom gates. Good morning. Happy to have you here, Dr. Joseph-Lumpkin.
Can you do an audio test for Dr. Lumpkin?
Sure. Gemma, do you mind unmuting for a second just so we can make sure your audio is good?
Okay, here I am.
There she is.
Loud and clear. Perfect.
Okay. There is one slide, I can't remember, I think it's slide 7 that has like 90 seconds of audio on it. I don't know if you guys tested for that.
So we didn't have audio permissions in the version that we received, so that would just need to be changed.
How do I do that or somebody else do that?
I think it would have to be from your end. I shared the master deck back with you.
And we
Lori, Lori
mhm.
Beth, you're the creator of that. Hello to everybody. Lori Beth, you are the owner of that document.
You know what, Lori Beth, why don't I give you editing permission on the master deck and then you can solve that behind the scenes. And
Okay,
you
yeah,
know
because
what?
I'm in it now. So,
Yep. We will go ahead and get rolling here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Caroline Calhoun. I am the Talk Tuesday facilitator and producer alongside my team here at Ed Advance. We have Dahlia with us this morning and Daniel running all things front and back end. We are joined by Kari Sullivan Custer and Jay Brown at CSDE, our fearless leaders in all of this important work. And we are delighted to have Dr. Gemma Joseph-Lumpkin and her team from New Haven Public Schools here this morning to talk about how to finish the year strong. So we're so happy to share all this content with you. I know it will resonate and you will get lots of great ideas of how to wrap up this school year, keeping our students and staff, for that matter, engaged as we go through the next couple of months. So with that, Dan, why don't we go to the next slide? And if you all wouldn't mind just dropping in the chat something that you're hoping to learn today about how to end the school year strong, feel free to share your name, your role, introduce yourself, and continue to build this community. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so we wanted to give you some information today that came from the sorry, I'm just sharing something with Lori Beth right now so she can do a back end. Can't multitask. Um, so last month, the National Network to Advance State Attendance Policy and Practice, which is organized by our colleagues at Attendance Works, they host this NASAP network meeting with states from all across the country. I think it's every month or every couple of months. And the session last month really focused on a study that Attendance Works has been writing and a brief they're producing about students who are experiencing homelessness. And the data was really pretty staggering. Kari and I thought it would be helpful for you all to wrap your heads around this a little bit as we think about some of our most vulnerable populations who are at risk for chronic absenteeism. And that certainly includes students who are experiencing homelessness. So there's been a dramatic increase in these students over the last 2 years. If you look at that purple arrow on the right, it shows an increase of almost 30% over the last 2 years of students who are identifying as experiencing unstable housing, homelessness, and this is the highest number on record. So that's really, it's a pretty stark statistic when we think about it, and it really implies and um, emphasizes for us that districts need to do that work to identify and support a growing population of students who are facing homelessness. So we have for you linked there on the right two different resources for you. The first one comes from the National Center for Homeless Education. It's all about those best practices that you can rely on when working with this population. And the second link is our own state CSDE best practices for how to improve attendance by addressing these students who might be experiencing homelessness. So we encourage you to check those out. Speak with folks at the district level, at the building level to make sure you have those supports in place for these students and their families. Let's go to the next slide, please, Daniel. So the statistics are pretty staggering. Nearly half of students who identify as experiencing homelessness are chronically absent, and that is about 47%. And economically disadvantaged students, 31%. And the bottom line is that students who are experiencing homelessness are more than 1.5 times more likely to be chronically absent than their peers. So the key message here that we want to iterate is that homelessness creates attendance barriers that go beyond just poverty alone. So it really requires an integrated, comprehensive approach as we support those students and families. This is all based on data that was currently available for last school year that Attendance Works and their partners at Schoolhouse Connection pulled together for this report. Next slide, please. So we want to make sure folks are aware, and we think, many of you are, and you're doing this work. This is just a good reminder for all of us that states already have key responsibilities under the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. So collecting and reporting data on this particular population, developing and implementing statewide plans, making sure that the work is happening on the ground to coordinate with your housing and community agencies within your districts, providing that technical assistance to districts. We know that Kari is super responsive, and Jay and all of our colleagues at CSDE if you have questions around this. So making sure that that technical assistance piece is in place. And supporting PD for our local homelessness liaisons who are doing this work day in and day out, and trying to ensure protections for homeless students. So the opportunity here is really to integrate your attendance strategies within those existing McKinney-Vento structures and vice versa to identify the challenges early rather than creating an entirely separate initiative. It's all part and parcel of the work. Kari, I see you want to jump in. Go ahead.
Yes, I do, because this is really something important to me. It's very important, and McKinney-Vento liaisons know this, to train not only the McKinney-Vento folks, but all staff to be able to recognize signs that a student might be experiencing unstable housing, which could just be couch surfing. Those students who are couch surfing or families that are doubled up are considered to be unstable housing and are eligible for McKinney-Vento services. And I see Amanda's question in the chat is, my wonder is about who identifies versus who are qualifying. So if there is identification that a student is in unstable housing, then they would be qualified for McKinney-Vento. It would be the McKinney-Vento liaison who would work with the family and students to learn more about the situation and arrange for supports and services. And one of the reasons that I understand that McKinney-Vento students who with McKinney-Vento are chronically absent has to do with arranging transportation right during transitions from one location to another. So it's important that districts have systems in place to arrange for transportation for students when they become McKinney-Vento eligible. That's all I have to say. Just, it's really, I do believe I watch the numbers in all of our larger districts, and it is amazing that one district will have a high number of homeless, and one district that's very, very similar has a low number of homeless and McKinney-Vento students. And that a lot of times has to do with not identifying students fast enough, or people not understanding identification of students with McKinney-Vento. So it's important that everybody understand that, all the teachers, all the other staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kari. Important points for sure. Let's go ahead and go to our next slide, Daniel. So the key takeaways from this NASAP meeting in March were really that the integration of our attendance efforts and our homeless education efforts really matter. And reducing chronic absence among this population of students requires that early identification, very much a coordinated effort for those supports, strong data systems, and collaboration across agencies, whether at the state level or at the district and school level. And by leveraging this McKinney-Vento framework, states can really strengthen our attendance strategies. We can ensure that these vulnerable students remain engaged in school. So we thought it was really helpful information, a good reminder for all of us as we work to finish the year strong and wanting to consider all of our populations. We have some state data on the next slide when it comes to Connecticut's students who are experiencing homelessness. Let's go ahead and go to that, Daniel. And this is just showing our different subgroups across Connecticut. And you can see that gray bar on the far right, and those are our students who are experiencing homelessness. So 44.5%, which is a really, really high number. So we want to keep these students in mind. Kari, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, this is the February data, so it's the most recent data. Our homeless chronic absence for this population of students has been coming down very slowly, but it definitely needs attention. I know that on many of the district attendance team meetings that I go to, the McKinney-Vento is a key member of your district attendance team. And if there's a large population of students in a school, it might make sense for the McKinney-Vento liaison to also go to that school's attendance team. I see Jess Davis has a question in the chat about student qualifying when there's one parent in one district and another in another district. I think we should recognize that every case is individualized and needs to be looked at um, thoroughly. And so I can't give an answer just based on that, but I'd be happy to connect with you, Jess. And also Lou Tagliarita is our McKinney-Vento lead at the state. And so would be happy to you can reach out to Lou or to myself and we can address that situation with you and do some problem solving with that. Thank you, Caroline.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next slide, and I think I'm passing it to you, Kari. Oh, one more slide first. So this is really relevant as we head into these last few months of school. Snow days and graduating seniors. This is all about the policy and the firm graduation date and how we report student attendance once seniors have graduated. So there is linked there for you the policy. So if a district's firm graduation date occurs before the revised last day of school, then districts can report the exit date for those high school graduates as the last day of school. Ensure that those graduates are included in your June PSIS collection and report their actual membership and attendance days up to that firm graduation date in the June PSIS collection. So this source was from a CSDE performance office email that went out to everybody on March 26th, to your district coordinators for PSIS. It went to all district attendance contacts on March 27th, but we thought it was worth sharing again to this audience to make sure folks are aware of those specifics. Kari, anything else on that point?
No, I don't think so, unless there's any questions. I did have a couple districts ask me, but don't the seniors have to have 180 days to graduate? And they do not have to have 180 days to graduate. It can be a couple days before the 180 mark. When your firm graduation date was set, that is the date they can graduate. If you had to move the school year a little bit longer, you do not have to take attendance for those seniors who graduate on your firm graduation date. So that should be helpful for those. And you should meet with your PSIS district coordinators to make sure that that is being done correctly at your districts. So our grade 12 chronic absence rates tend to really jump at the end of the year. So this may be helpful. Okay, next slide.
Senioritis, it's real. All right, Kari.
All right. So this slide or this graph, I may have shown it before, but I wanted to show it again because I personally very proud of it. The blue line is last year's monthly chronic absence data. The orange line is this year's chronic absence data by month. And we're going October to February, which is the last date that we have our monthly chronic absence data. In about 2 weeks, we'll have March. But we are showing consistently lower chronic absence rates than 2024-25 across every month just about from October through February. In October, our chronic absence percentage points were lower than the previous year. We were at 13.3 this year compared to 16.1 last year. That is a significant difference. And we even that difference grew in November. I'm not saying it right. I should say the gap widened in November, but last year's data rate rose to 18.5. This year's remained at 14.5, far away from that 20% mark. However, December is the only month that we crossed over the trend lines, right? December was our highest month for respiratory illness. We peaked with the flu season at 5,000 cases during the last week before Christmas. So we had lots of kids out sick. I heard of families kept their kids out sick, so they out even when they were well, so they didn't get sick. So December was a really rocky month for us. But after December, the improvements resumed. January rates dropped back down to 16.6% compared to 18.7 in the previous year. And February shows the strongest contrast between years. Last year rose above 20%, while this year remained at 17.6. So overall, the school year is trending in a positive direction. Despite normal mid-year fluctuations, chronic absence is consistently below last year's levels, suggesting that current strategies and supports may be having a measurable impact. And we want to sustain this momentum and finish the school year strong, right? We like when I was growing up, or I've always heard, well, the school year's winding down. Well, let's not wind down the school year. Let's finish our school year strong, and have things happening so that kids want to and feel the need to be in school. Maybe a little, what do they call it? Fear of missing out, FOMO, on those in that last couple of weeks of school. Make sure that you've got things planned, and Gemma will touch on this because they did that last year. They finished the school year strong. They had a plan, and they were able to do it. So, next slide, please. So I had an opportunity. I was invited by the Commissioner Russell Tucker, to present at her Commissioner's Roundtable for Family and Community Engagement that meets 4 times a year. It's been in place now for many years, and she wanted me to talk to the people on that council or roundtable are people who work in the community and with families and with students, but are really community members. And she wanted me to talk to them about how can community members and community organizations help our schools finish the school year strong. And Caroline and I were talking, and we thought some of these tips might be something that you can use in your district with your community partners and agencies to help you finish strong. So one of the things I think that they can do is they can become attendance champions and messengers. They can reinforce our message about why school is so important. They can use their voice and platform to reinforce that everyday matters. And they can promote positive messaging that builds belonging and engagement. Share your campaign, your awareness campaign materials with your local churches. Where are your students going on the weekends? With your after-school providers, with your healthcare providers. Have them become champions on attendance as well, and let them know where you are with your data. How can they access attendance data on EdSite so that they can monitor trends and student group patterns? Or maybe you can push that information out to them to say, look, community partners, we want to finish strong. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to be. And use the data to guide conversations and actions that they can take. Connect your community partners with their district leadership and attendance teams. They don't have to come all the time, but there may be a time when you want to invite them to come to a meeting to look and learn about what are the local barriers and root causes, and how can they assist in supporting families. Align the community supports to identify needs. You may have information that your youth service bureau would love to have as they develop their plans for next year for supporting youth and families. Strengthen positive, supportive family connections, encourage outreach that's supportive, again, get away from the punitive, promote trust, communication, and belonging. They can help families understand expectations and supports. This is really important. And I was in New Haven last week and they were doing a press conference with, I think, Electric Boat or General Dynamics. And so this is engage business and industry partners. And this is so important that we build awareness that attendance in school supports a strong future workforce. Encourage student work schedules that do not conflict with school, right? And then reinforce that school attendance must come first. Create these strong partnerships with your student employers so that we all have their future in mind. And celebrate and motivate, I think, and skip support targeted timely interventions. Gemma's going to cover this, but help them focus on students near the chronic absence threshold, promote relational strategies like check-ins and home visits, um, and act early to prevent further disengagement. So, and then celebrate and motivate. Talked about that at the end of the year. Have things happening that they're going to get excited about. And community partners can be mentors, right? Highlight, provide students with consistent, caring adult connections and have them help you recruit mentors in your schools to support students who are struggling with attendance. Those positive adult relationships are research-based, proven effective ways to improve attendance. And then I invited them to join us for Talk Tuesday. So invite them to join you for your activities at your district. Are you having back to school? Well, not back to school now, but are you having any kind of parent nights or celebrations or any way that they could help with a parent math night? Maybe a local business can help with a family math night. So I just want to share those with you because if you'd like my talking points or this slide or anything so that you can talk about at your team on how you can strengthen your community partners and agencies relationships in improving attendance. And with that, Caroline, I'm going to pass it back to you because I think you're ready to introduce our dynamic team.
I am. Thank you. And I love all of that content, Kari. Thank you so much. Those relationships with your community partners really cannot be understated how important they are, overstated how important they are. And it can make such a huge difference in how your district is tackling attendance and engagement from that all hands on deck perspective that everybody has a role to play. So let's go ahead and go to our next slide, Daniel. And I am so happy to introduce everybody this morning to our colleague and friend, Dr. Gemma Joseph-Lumpkin, who is joining us from New Haven Public Schools. She is the chief of the Office of Youth, Family, and Community Engagement. Gemma is a deliberate and focused leader who really advocates for strengths-based engagement of youth, family, and community to better all student outcomes in New Haven Public Schools. And in her role, Gemma provides citywide leadership to strengthen all of the resources available for city youth. Gemma is a doctorate student at Sacred Heart University, has a really focused interest in the intersectionality of youth, families, school, and community. She received her doctorate and her Master of Business Administration as well from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. She has an extensive background in community engagement, in data analysis, public affairs, and working statewide with superintendents and policymakers to increase STEM opportunities for urban students. So New Haven Public Schools is so lucky to have your leadership, Dr. Joseph-Lumpkin, and I know that you were joined here by your team. We have Mr. Charles Blango is here as well, Ms. Lori Beth Rodriguez, Ms. Anna Mendoza, and we are so grateful to have all of you with us this morning. And last but not least, Gemma is the mother of two beautiful children, Nora and Julian, who are students in the New Haven Public School System. So thank you so much, Gemma, for being here, and we will pass the baton to you and your team.
Okay, wow. Did I write that introduction? Thank you so much. And I am so appreciative of the team at Ed Advance who have been supporting us with our documentation of data and have been so responsive to how we are trying to get things done here in New Haven. And of course, to our fearless leader, Kari Sullivan, from CSDE. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to tell everybody, get those slides that Kari shared with you and the ideas that she shared in there. Those are, I mean, I think you've covered it all. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over all of those really important features. We are not going to get this work done unless we really begin to dig in on all of our possibilities. And I feel that as I looked at the slides that you shared and the information that Caroline shared about our homeless students, we all have to, at least for us here, we're going to sit back, take some time. We're going to get together 1 o'clock this afternoon and just sort of tear apart what you shared today to see how we can deepen our engagement through those strategies. So thank you all so much. And so let's begin. Slide 1, if you are ready to go. So it's end of year. So let's go to the next slide. So 48 days left for us here in New Haven. We have lots of celebrations that we have that are cultural, that reflects our cultural diversity, whether it's Eid or Rosh Hashanah, Christmas, of course, we all share. But we have some extra days that truly represents who we are. And so our days tend to be longer. We also had snow days. And so our school year ends on June 23rd. I think that's a Tuesday. It was intended to end, I think, 3 days before that, but just based on what we experience, as many of you experience. So this slide essentially says, y'all know, like it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? So this is a little spin-off of that. And here, and we are in this mode of 48 days in New Haven where it is kid by kid. We have to know in our district, right? If my superintendent walks in and says, where are kids on a district level? Where are students on a school by school level? And where are students by demographics? And by that, I mean by ethnicity, by L, by spend, even by homeless. And we believe, and we're sharing with you today, that those 48 days are essential for us to know exactly where the data is. And why this is important, because all of the things that Kari talked about in terms of the celebrations, our community partners, it's not going to be powerfully effective if we don't know which students we absolutely need to impact. My kids are going to enjoy whatever it is, fun Fridays, pajama days, and all of those things. But I think my kids had like maybe 2 days of absences. So the students that we want to draw in with these activities are the students who we can hold onto through the end of the year. So my big message to you, starting off, is know where your students are. And the next slide is probably a little messy. I don't know if that's my messy slide. Okay, this slide is my baskets framework slide. This slide essentially, and it's a little bit off the charts a little bit. So I didn't check this full screen, or maybe it's my screen where I don't see the bottom slides. But we have our students divided up into baskets. Thank you for whomever just moved that up a little bit for us. So I am looking at my kids, and this is February data. It's not our current data. In these, what we call the baskets framework, who are our students in our 0 to 4 days? Okay. Who are our students in our 5 to 10 days? In our basket 3, you see here, and this is by the way, my team having fun with Google, with whatever AI they've used for this. Basket 3, 11 to 14, basket 4. I need every single school to know exactly who these students are at this much days missed by this end of the year. If you don't know who these students are, and you're really looking to decrease chronic absence, this is going to be a hit or miss scenario. All right. So at this point, you can see the percentages. We are a large district. We have about 18,000 students. We count about 16,000 plus students who are in our K-8, but we are also tracking up our pre-K as well. So just to kind of just let you know that you'll see some less numbers or more numbers depending on us not counting our pre-K students. So the baskets is where we figure out where our students are. All right, next slide, please. So here's the dirty work. Let's just sit on this slide. Everybody lean in a little bit, get your reading glasses, because I'm just going to share with you a little bit about where we are at the end of this year. And I think it was Jeannie, who couldn't be here with us today, who said it's us saying no fluff, it's just the stats, it's the end of year baskets, and what we call lift zone scenarios. We say lift zone, it's another word for recoverable students, right? Students who we can lift up and move. So what the numbers represent on the left-hand side of your slide, and we remove schools, are schools, right? Their enrollment. So that total enrollment is actually numbers. You see the top is the district, 16,496. And then let me move you to the second column. That tells us how many students were chronically absent at the time we pull this data. And then as I move you over to, I'm sorry, not the next slide, the next column, I'm saying column, it gives the rate and then the numbers by baskets. And then you see what we highlighted in New Haven, that green column. That's our sweet spot. Those are the students 11 to 14 days that we know we have to save, recover, lift, whatever you choose to decide. Those students are the students that we must spend time focusing on. And then you see that 15 to 17 basket. And then we go to the 18 plus students, and you can see there we already had 2,000 plus students who were already in that basket. I also highlighted, just keep following me as I go across, in yellow, 11 to 17. There's possibilities all across, right? Back in March, we still have the possibilities of honing in on those students. So when I say to you, where are your students? And when I say to school, school by school, where are your students? They have to be explicitly clear on where they are. Now let's go to the next column, scenario A. And before I go to scenario A, we'll have you move your eyes slowly over so nobody gets blind to the right side where it says EOY target. That is the target that we have established for our district and for every single school in the district as part of their end of year target. And that is based on our 5-year strategic operating plan. So no school is confused around where we should be ending, what they should be trying to achieve. So when you look at your baskets, whether you're looking at that bright green 11 to 14 or that bright yellow 17, what are you going to do to hit that end of year target at the green? What we offer to our schools are 3 scenarios. Scenario A, we said to schools, if you are able to hone in on your students who are at 11 to 14, and you are able to lift or recover or save 60% of those students, and we just used the 11 to 14 scenario, you could be as creative as you want to be, then this is where you would land as a district and as a school. And we give another scenario, scenario B, just looking at 11 to 14. Again, be creative. You might look at 11 to 17. Some schools had to because they weren't going to make their targets. So if you can, looking at 11 to 14, hone in on 80% of those students and lift and recover, then this is where you will land. And then finally, we gave scenario C that essentially said, again, looking at your bright green, yellow to 14s, if you can hone in on 90%, this is where you will land. In other words, we offered to our schools, and you can see how they're listed there, what their chronic absence rate is, multiple scenarios to achieve an end of year target. So there is no school in New Haven at this point who doesn't have a plan. So, in addition to all of the other elements of engagement that needs to happen with families, that needs to happen with students, encouraging students and families, bringing in our community partners, which also, by the way, could be faith-based organizations, restaurants, McDonald's, um, Five and Below has done some really nice giveaways. The Amazon store. Be creative, find those partners, but at the end of the day, you need to know where your students are. You need to know by, and when I'm talking to y'all, like we're talking like I'm training my principals in this and my cabinet level. And this is, so there's no excuses. Now things happen, kids gonna get sick, situations are gonna occur, but you've got to have a strategic plan to get to where you want to go, in addition to all of the ideas and practices. And I also want to say, so we put out something called a playbook that Kari and Caroline are very familiar with. And this is part of our playbook. I just didn't give you the nice, pretty section of this. Lori Beth has a nice cover, but this is what we're honing in on. And again, as we said, there's no fluff. It's the stats, it's the baskets, it's the lift zone, it's the work that needs to happen. And so I just wanted to pause here and just take this in and just have you sort of taken into a big, messy, we call it, this is like the messy part of the work. We're always moving these numbers around, and just wondered if I should continue on or if anybody wants to just pipe in here before we go to the next slide. Okay. All right. Okay, so I see Amanda says, like, what strategies are you using in within those when you use these school plans? Oh, we've had the range of it. We've had a school reaching out to families. Many of our schools, all of our schools are connected to these families in particular. In addition to all families, there's, if there's nothing else that we do, we have to let families know this is an area that we are addressing. They have approaches to addressing these families. Our teams in our schools, whether it's our nurses, our guidance counselors, they are connecting with these students on a regular basis. They're showing them their possibilities. I don't know if you can see, I have another slide where you can see some of the folders behind, the flyers behind me. I don't know if it's twisted on my side. I don't know if you guys can see it straight forward, or is it backwards over here? Is it backwards? You can see it? Okay, thank you, Amanda. There these flyers are everywhere, not flyers, post boards. But the main thing is, especially the middle school levels, is building those relationships with those students, right? Building those relationships with those families, letting these students know that they have so much possibility. They have so much going for them. Linking them to people in the school who are going to make those phone calls, finding out what their needs are. This is really basic, gritty work of creating that sense of belonging and that connection to these students. And I should have started off by saying, or maybe I did start off by saying, this year was tough. This year with the flu, with absences, with COVID returning, with winter, we had teacher absences. It was just a really difficult time for our students, not having recess as often as they do, outside recess, that is, as often that they do. So students experiencing all of this stuff, and our younger grade students, it really is going to take that extra effort. So the main strategy on the table is the relationship with students, how we connect with them, how we engage with them. And then secondly, as importantly, is the relationship with the families and families understanding. One other thing that we're putting on, I'm waiting for my academic team, is like, it's 48 days of school. This much learning is still happening. Students are doing fractions. My daughter's doing fractions, and we're making pizza. this is not a time to be missing school. I know it's beautiful outside and it feels like you could sleep in. It's the end of the year, but you might be missing important vocabulary for your students at the early grades. So we're getting that information out to our families so they can see that learning is still happening during these last days of school. And really changing that mindset that, oh, it's the end of the year, not just um, with our families and also with our staff. Like to have the staff keep reminding families, have teachers reminding families of how important this end of year is to our students. Okay, so I'm going to move off of this slide and go to the next one. I didn't look at this lately, so okay, so so this is sort of how we broke down those scenarios. I guess I could have gone to this a little earlier. So look at all these arrows going in every direction. So you see our enrollment there. You see what our current absence rate is, a little lower now. And this was done, we have decreased. Give us a little snap on that. You can see our baskets, the 11 to 14. And then you can see the different scenarios that we have set up. And the team here just said scenario A and scenario C. They didn't put the whole thing. So I just wanted you to just have a visual of if we maintain 60%. So if you just look at where it says intervention scenarios and projected end of year CA rates, and you can see the blue text box that shows for us and for everybody else, every school essentially doing the same thing. And it was beautiful to read the school plans that look like this. And I think our next slide might show Obama's school. Yes. So Obama's school, every school had to put together a plan, right? They had to pick a scenario. So this particular school has 305 students. They had 102 students chronically absent at the time of the study. Their overall rate was 33.4. Their intervention plan essentially says there are 65 students, 65, that's like I'm saying, 65 kids, right? They are going to use strategy B, which I believe is 80%. And their goal is to, yes, 80% in that 11 to 14. Okay, and their projected is to bring their rate down to 25.38. For an urban school that is dealing with a lot of various issues, even that 25.38 will sound very high to some of our smaller districts, but it is a significant decrease for an urban school that is dealing with a variety of struggles. And so this is an example of what a school intervention plan, and they have so much going on in that school in terms of engagement, but certainly for these 65 students and the rest of the school, they have specific plans for them. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we communicate with students? So, okay, these two schools, I don't have the blue house in front of me. They have the biggest rivalry. All schools and all communities have their rivalry, whether it's community to community or school to school. So this is Hill House and Cross, my alma mater.
Almighty James Hill House High School.
We could just mute Daryl Brown, who is my friend every once in a while from Hill House. We could just mute him, keep him on mute, but you have Hill House and Wilbur Cross have put out these posters, very student-oriented, very student-driven, and I don't know if that audio is going to work. We've got
they might have to refresh the page
of
the whole show, but unless Daryl can just grant the access real quick.
I granted access.
Yeah, no, there we go.
And there should be a button there. If you hit it, you might be able to hear some music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Wake up, new day, yeah, it's time to go. New Haven Public Schools, let's run the show. Every morning matters, yeah, you already know. Every day counts, let's get up and go. Step in the building, yeah, you got a place. Future in your hands, yeah, you setting the pace. No more missing days, we leveling up. Show up every we changing the game. Teachers got your back, community too. New Haven Public Schools believe in you. One day, one step, yeah, you're building your name. Every lesson learned, putting fuel to your flame. You matter, your light shining so bright. Stay in school, keep pushing, reach. New high school is better with you. We say it again, every day counts. Let's rise and win. From the classroom to your dreams. Take flight, show up every day, yeah, your future bright. You family, community, we stand strong. Together every day, yeah, we all belong. Be present, be ready, let your story begin. Show up to school, that's how you win. That's how you
win. So I can't take any credit for that. I have an amazing team of people who build these things out. And so that's our story. There is, we're at 10:45. We can end here. I know, Carrie, you had a couple more things you'd like us to share, but this is us. This is us. This is New Haven and what we're trying to get done. I would just say one thing in the next slide as we go forward is how we talk to our families and how we reach our families matters. Okay. We feel very strongly that the strengths-based approach is critical, and that we have to be intentional, not just to document. And you can just keep changing. I'm going to move this very quickly. I'm looking at the clock here. We changed in New Haven around honing in on aspirations. And I talked about student support improves when the full story is visible, and when we hone in on self-efficacy and not just barriers. All right, next slide, please. And so our intentionality, it starts before we even visit. Our team is trained in addition to the LEAP training, which is foundational and very supportive of of how we do work. We ask, what is my focus? Which strength do I hope to uncover? Which direction best fits this family? And what do I need to understand beyond the barrier? There's a humanity to this, right? We're not just going in, we're not just talking to the family, your kid's not coming to school, what's going on, you're homeless. We want to be intentional about ensuring that we see the whole family and more to that family than the barriers that they are facing. Next, please. Okay, so here's a flip in the questions that we ask. What are the biggest, in the traditional is, what are the family's problems? Why did you miss school? And a lot of this stuff will show up in the LEAP training as well. We ask, what are some of the strengths and skills each family feels proud of? And you'd be surprised that we hear about sports, and we hear about people who are going back to college. We hear about a mom who has taken on a new job or is applying for a new job. We may ask, what are your hopes and aspirations for your children? What are some of the things that would make it easier for your child to attend school regularly? Not just that left side of what are your challenges, what are your barriers, what do you need? Next slide, please. Right, so here's an example of documentation that I wanted to share, right? This is a student who's missing a ton of school, but look at what we learned about this family. He met with the mom, and the oldest sibling is a part of the family. Mom is concerned. She's getting these calls about the student walking the hallway, right? The high school people. But notice that he is passing classes. The parents and I, the person who documented, discussed that the school will be working with the student in maintaining in his class. If he is struggling, they're going to look for alternative locations because he feels he has to leave the classroom for a variety of reasons. We didn't put all of that there. But mom said the student has relatives who supports him, and that the dropout prevention specialist will continue to meet with the student regarding what spaces he might need, as well as what, to inform him about what the past procedure could be when he needs to access those spaces. So this is really important, that we don't just say to kids in the hallway all of the time, mom is struggling, on and on and on. We need to incorporate more to this family than normal. Next slide, please. All right, the practice behind the work, commitment to what we do. We're very disciplined about it. It's collaboration. The team comes together. We do a lot of role play and feedback. And that's an important thing when you're visiting families. We bring our home visitors in to kind of share what the experiences are, but also to really test these ideas of strength-based approaches and a repetition. Next, please. And you'll see this framework, and I'm hoping this QR code, it has some of the questions that we talked about. It's here in this card the team made up. It's a little cheat sheet with some of the questions that they take to them. So people are still caught up in this song. So whatever I'm saying, I know it's going straight over other people's heads because I'm reading the chats on this. But it's there. I hope the QR code, we checked it, it's working. For some of the questions to help build out strengths-based families, strengths-based approaches. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph-Lumpkin. And we have about 10 minutes left, so we can actually we can take questions and answers and have some discussion. I love that we have sort of a two-pronged presentation here, so you all got to learn about everything New Haven is doing as this comprehensive system-wide approach to end the year strong with all sorts of concrete ideas about how to use your data, how to really bring the fun into this work. And the song that you shared is such a great example of that. I love the chat, not only complimenting all of your team's efforts, and shout out to Juan. I saw that you were one of the members behind the driving
Yes.
that creativity, but also folks are chatting about how to use AI and how to collaborate with students to potentially do something similar in other districts. But then also, we appreciate you sharing the strengths-based work that you have really facilitated and spearheaded for the district. We know that that was an outgrowth not only of your doctoral study and work that you did, but the LEAP documentation that we all have been doing with our home visitor logs for our LEAP grant funded districts. And this is just another layer of that work and the intentionality behind it. And at our most recent LEAP district coordinator meeting, Gemma shared some of that with our districts, and a number of them are really interested in doing the same kind of thing. So we love that everyone is learning from one another. And thank you for joining this platform to share your expertise as well. We'd love to take questions. The last couple slides here are just a reminder about our next session is April 21st with Jay Brown is going to be having a conversation about special education determinations, very important topic. And as always, Dan, if you go to the next slide, we have a whole host of resources there for you about our student support series. There's a great session coming up April 24th and May 21st. And then next slide, please. Our LEAP home visiting hub there's attendance awareness campaign info there for you all if you haven't already registered. And then Dan, if you can just find our LEAP home visiting slide, our next 101 training, I believe, is tomorrow from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So we encourage you to sign up for that if you are so inclined. But let's take questions. We can stop screen sharing and have a conversation as a community. If you have questions for the New Haven team while they are all still on with us, and if anyone wants to learn more. So I will open it up to questions and see if you feel free to come off mute, raise your hand, drop a question in the chat for our friends from New Haven. And Gemma, if any of your team wants to jump in and add anything, feel free as well.
Yeah, I saw Daryl just joined us. Daryl has been he is one of our school community care coordinators, and he really works in the tier 3 world of this work. But he's been super intentional around the strengths-based, the family engagement component, as well as supporting the work of the school where he has 4 or 5 rings that he likes to share from his track coaching.
Oh, not 4 or 5. We're talking about in the 20s now, from James Hillhouse High School, the almighty. Mr. Blanco, that's me tagging you in right there.
So Daryl, any sharings that you'd like to discuss around the family engagement, especially this time of year, and the strengths-based? I mean, I covered quite a bit of it, but since you were on, I wanted to make sure I touch base.
So I know one thing that Gemma, she was really intentional about is the strength-based documentation and how we told the stories of our families, right? And how we tell the stories of our family can definitely make or break a relationship and re-engaging students and families into trusting the school district. All right, saying and highlighting things that the highlighting the deficits do not we found don't do us any justice. But when we highlight their strengths or the things that they do well in progress for where they came from, we find that the parents and the families trust us more. They see us as a part of the solution and not part of the opposition. In that series, Gemma, kind of empowered me to say, you know what, go on out, or we're gonna help our department switch the jargon from that deficit based kind of communication to strength based. And once we started to see that, now you have different members of the school who pick up on the strength base and they're able to communicate with the families a little bit differently. So then we move into a whole school approach, a universal school approach at strength base, and people begin to buy into the support. And that has definitely been some work for us, changing and helping people change their mindset around documentation and communication.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thanks, Daryl.
I just wanted to throw in, Gemma, listening to that explanation, Daryl, and everything you shared, Dr. Joseph-Lumpkin, a lot of the work that Gemma and I collaborated on in the last couple years was about that mindset shift. And I think the examples you all have shared today are just such great illustrations of what can happen when you have an entire district and a system buying into that, invested in that mindset shift. It can be such a powerful lever of change. And really, just kudos to all of you because it's working.
There's definitely been intentionality in this shift, and it has not been overnight. Both the systems and the structures that have been working that are in New Haven right now have taken several years to build to this point, and it's hard to see those numbers change, and it's not an easy fix. But I want to say how proud I am of that New Haven team and the work that you've done over the last couple of years. They have a very strong district attendance team with almost their entire cabinet attends, right? That's how much of a priority it is to leadership in New Haven that their assistant superintendents are at their district attendance team, and then they carry those messages to all their principals, and they discuss attendance with their principals, and then it's discussed at their school attendance team. So there's a direct through line of this work in New Haven, and it's just amazing what you've been able to do. I'm very proud.
Thank you, Karen.
And that song.
Well, thank you so much to our team from New Haven. Thank you to all of you for joining us this morning. Thank you to our partners at CSDE and to my Ed Advanced team members. We appreciate all of you. The slide deck is there for you. We will push out the recording and post all of that as usual. But thank you so much, Dr. Joseph-Lumpkin, and to everybody in New Haven for sharing your expertise. Amazing work. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Thank you all.
Bye.
Take care.